Today, we're gonna crunch the numbers. And here's what I found. It's actually, when you look at the distribution of it, it's actually really kind of interesting. This is where it starts to become like a metaphor for life, I think. It's not always the best choice to just focus on the most urgent things all the time. So, are you with me? Let's play. I'm BB, and this is Ballz. It's one of my very favorite mobile games to play. It's very simple, granted, but I think that's the beauty of it. The simplicity of it is kind of its magic. It's fun, it's relaxing, but it's kind of exciting. Actually, look at this moment here. And when you dig just a little bit deeper into it, it's actually got some really interesting things going on. And today, we're gonna crunch the numbers. Obviously, there's a lot of numbers going on this screen. There's some basic math and some concepts that are super fun to understand and implement as we start expanding on the strategies to this game. So starting off with, the first number involved is the balls themselves. You start off on level 1 with 1 ball, and the way you accumulate balls is by getting those little flashy circle thingies, the ones that are kind of up in that area there. There's one that drops down with every row. So if you get every circle, flashy circle, you should have roughly the same number of balls as the level that you're on. So as you can see here, we had 509 balls. We're on level 510, and there's one flashy circle. So there's your first math equation. Simple enough. Next up is the blocks math. The blocks come down in rows that have either what I call 1x or 2x blocks. So we just see this top row that just dropped down. They all have the number 511 in them. That is 1x of the level that I'm in. And so that row is a 4x row. Makes sense? So there's 4 blocks of the 1x type. Now let's take a look at this row. We've got a 512, 512, and then one that's 1024. That's a 2x block. So we have 1x, 1x, and 2x. So that's also a 4x row, but in a little bit of a different arrangement. Let's do a couple more. So we've got 3 blocks with a 1x of a 1x type here. So this is a 3x row. So you probably get the gist of it now. It will drop down in anywhere from a 2x row all the way up to a 6x row. That's what I've seen. So we've got another 4. I actually crunched the numbers of rows for 50 levels to see what we have. We've got all the way the 2x's, 3x's, 4x's, 5x's, and 6x's. And here's what I found. It's actually, when you look at the distribution of it, it's actually really kind of interesting. So there were, out of 50 levels, 5 rows of 2x. That's 10%. 12 rows of 3x. That's 24%. 15 rows of 4x. That's 30%. 11 rows of 5x, that's 22%, and 7 rows of 6x, which is 14%. So the average of all of that is about just over 4.06. So that is why you see a lot of 4s. There's a lot of different arrangements for, especially when you get to 4s, 5s, and 6s, where it can be 4 1x's or 2 1x's and 1 2x, 2 2x's. Here we got a 2 row at the top there. That's just a 2x, giving me a little bit of a breather. So what does this mean? First of all, when you look at the distribution, you'll notice there are kind of ebbs and flows. There are times where it's lighter, it's not dropping so many on you accumulating at a time. And then there are heavier times. Ooh, here's a 6. We have 4 1Xs and a 2X there. Then there are times where it's heavy. They're giving you 4s, 5s, 6s all in a row. Here's a little bit of a heavy time, it looks like to me, where you're really going to have to stay on top of it. So what does that mean, staying on top of the math of the rows here? Between your balls and your blocks, if what you have in balls roughly is 1X, and your rows are on average just over 4X, that means logically that every ball needs to make 4 hits to essentially break even, to clear out what you've got, right? Obviously, the ebbs and flows make a difference, and the arrangements continue to evolve, but mathematically, that's the rule. So now we're looking at our hits math. Now, this one was kind of an oops. Let's see, there's a 1. Right now I'm getting 1 hit, and toward the end I got 3 bounces. So that one was not going to keep me on pace. So let's see what we get here. Oh, I'm going high. I'm going for a high one. Oh, nice. So I can't even count the hits here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe hits for each of those balls. Oh, but now we're going to lose some. We're back down to 1 for the remainder of the balls here. But it did its work pretty well there for a bit. So you can see the average of the hits should be in that 4 range, right? So some part of the even on a single turn, part of it you might get 1 and you might get 8 or 9 or 10, or our very favorite thing when you just get chaos and there's so many hits, or some of these infinite bounces, which are great. So that is the gist of Ballz math. And as you can see, it's a matter of calculating the sort of energy reserves, if that's what we want to consider the balls to be, that you have in order to handle all the stuff that's coming at you. This is where it starts to become like a metaphor for life, I think. Right? Life keeps throwing stuff at you. It never stops, row after row, day after day after day. And some days are easier than other days, but it's kind of a never-ending onslaught. And so the question is, how do you strategically, what are you aiming at? How are you using your energy? What's the most productive use of your energy? Ooh, that one was pretty good. And sometimes, so now I've got one in the bottom row that I really do. That's when it becomes urgent. The lower down they get on the screen, the more urgent they get. But as you may know, it's not always the best choice to just focus on the most urgent things all the time. Sometimes we need to look a little farther out so that those farther out things don't pile up on us or, cause problems down the road. So it's a balance of making sure that we're aiming for those distant things that are coming our way that we know we want to or have to handle in our lives, while also sort of mitigating the urgency of some of the things that are closer that we have to deal with immediately. So, are you with me? What do you think of the math metaphor when it comes to balls and your life and your energy? I've got a lot more where that came from, and the math leads itself to a number of different strategies. You can see there's some geometry here and a bunch of other things as well. So if you're having fun with me, this channel revolves around games, but is really not just about the games. It's about connecting, relaxing, having some fun. So come on over and let's play.